My beloved child, there is something I need you to notice today, something that has been happening quietly, almost invisibly, right in front of you. At first, you may have thought it was distance. You may have called it silence. You may have even wondered if someone had forgotten about you. But what if I told you that the story is far deeper than that? What if the step back you have been noticing is not what it seems? Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is a person connected to your journey in a way you may not fully understand yet. They are not the person everyone would immediately point to. They are not the obvious choice. In fact, if someone asked you right now who has been thinking about you the most lately, this person might not even make your list. Yet behind the scenes, something remarkable has been unfolding. For a while now, this person has been observing from a distance. Not because they do not care. Not because they have lost interest. Not because they have forgotten your value. The truth is far more surprising. They have been stepping back because they have been seeing something they never noticed before. Think about that carefully. Sometimes people move closer when they understand something. But other times, they step back first. They step back because they need a wider view. They need space to process what they have discovered. They need a moment to understand what their heart, mind, and spirit are trying to tell them. And that is exactly what has been happening. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. You may have noticed small changes. A conversation that became less frequent. A reaction that seemed different. A familiar pattern that suddenly stopped. At first glance, it may have looked confusing. You may have wondered if something had gone wrong. But listen closely. Not every silence is a rejection. Not every pause is an ending. Not every step back is a goodbye. Sometimes a person steps back because they have finally realized the importance of what stands before them. The strange part is that this realization did not happen all at once. It happened through small moments. Tiny details. Quiet observations. Things they never expected to affect them as deeply as they did. Maybe they saw how you handled a difficult situation. Maybe they noticed your consistency. Maybe they witnessed your strength when nobody else was watching. Maybe they heard something positive about you from someone they trust. Whatever the reason, a shift began. At first, they tried to ignore it. Then they tried to explain it away. Then they told themselves they were imagining it. But the feeling remained. And the more it remained, the more they felt the need to step back and understand it. This is where the story becomes truly interesting. Because while you were focused on your daily life, wondering why things felt different, they were asking themselves questions they had never asked before. Questions about your value. Questions about your presence. Questions about why your absence suddenly felt noticeable. Questions about why your name kept appearing in their thoughts at unexpected moments. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The surprising truth is that people often recognize significance only after creating distance. When something is constantly present, it can become familiar. But when there is space, perspective changes. That perspective has been changing. Slowly. Quietly. Powerfully. And every day, they have been discovering something new. Something they overlooked. Something they underestimated. Something they never expected to matter so much. The step back was never about forgetting. The step back was about realizing. That is the reason you must pay attention to what comes next. Because this story is not moving in the direction most people would assume. Most people see distance and immediately expect disappointment. Most people see silence and immediately assume the worst. Most people stop watching before they learn what was actually happening behind the scenes. Do not be one of those people. Stay with me. Because what is unfolding is bigger than the surface details. There is a reason this person could not continue exactly as before. There is a reason the old pattern no longer felt comfortable to them. There is a reason they needed time. And that reason has everything to do with what they are beginning to understand. You see, sometimes the biggest revelations arrive quietly. Not with noise. Not with announcements. Not with dramatic moments. But with a growing awareness that cannot be ignored. That awareness has been building. Day after day. Moment after moment. Thought after thought. And even though you may not see every part of the process is real. The distance has a purpose. The silence has a purpose. The pause has a purpose. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because in the next part of this journey, the hidden thoughts behind this unexpected step back will begin to surface, and when they do, the picture will become clearer than ever before. What they have been realizing may change the way you see this entire situation. And what happens next could be the part nobody saw coming. A quiet truth is beginning to reveal itself. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. What you are about to hear is the part of the story that almost nobody notices. It is the hidden chapter. The unseen side. The reason things began changing without any obvious explanation. While you were trying to understand the distance, someone else was trying to understand you. That is what makes this so remarkable. Most people expect answers to arrive through words. They expect explanations. They expect clear signs. But sometimes the biggest realization happens in silence. Sometimes a person learns more by stepping back than they ever could by staying close. And that is exactly what happened here. The person you may not expect started paying attention in a way they never had before. They noticed details that used to pass by unnoticed. Small things. Meaningful things. Powerful things. They noticed how you continued moving forward when others would have given up. They noticed how you treated people even when nobody was watching. They noticed the consistency in your character. They noticed the strength you carried quietly. At first, these observations seemed small. Then something changed. Those small observations started connecting together like pieces of a puzzle. Suddenly, they were no longer seeing separate moments. They were seeing a complete picture. And that picture surprised them. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the image they formed was different from the one they expected. Different from the assumptions they once carried. Different from the story they once believed. The more they observed, the harder it became to ignore. Questions began appearing in their mind. Why does this person stand out? Why does their presence feel different? Why do their words stay with me longer than expected? Why do I keep thinking about them? The answers did not arrive immediately. That is why they stepped back. Not because they were losing interest. Because they were discovering interest they never expected to feel. Think about that. Sometimes people retreat because they want less. Sometimes people retreat because they are beginning to realize there might be more. And realizing there might be more can feel overwhelming. It can challenge old beliefs. It can change perspectives. It can create a need for reflection. That reflection has been happening. Quietly. Steadily. Powerfully. There have been moments when your name unexpectedly crossed their mind. Moments when something reminded them of you. Moments when they remembered a conversation. Moments when they remembered something you said. Moments when they remembered something you did. The surprising part is that these memories arrived when they least expected them. While working. While resting. While focusing on something completely different. The thought would appear. And it would stay. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there is another detail you need to understand. This person has been comparing what they thought before with what they know now. And the difference between those two things is larger than they imagined. What once seemed ordinary now feels significant. What once seemed small now feels meaningful. What once seemed easy to overlook now feels impossible to ignore. That realization has been growing stronger every day. And growth creates change. The distance you noticed was part of that change. The pause you noticed was part of that change. The silence you noticed was part of that change. Everything was leading toward a deeper understanding. A realization that could not be rushed. A realization that needed time. A realization that needed space. There is something fascinating about human nature. Sometimes people do not fully recognize value until they step back and see the entire picture. When they finally do, everything starts looking different. The same person suddenly appears in a new light. The same conversations carry new meaning. The same memories become more important. The same connection feels deeper. That is what has been unfolding. And whether you realize it or not, the story is still moving forward. Every day has added another piece. Every thought has added another clue. Every reflection has added another layer. And now the picture is becoming clearer. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what began as simple distance is slowly transforming into understanding. What began as uncertainty is turning into clarity. What began as confusion is becoming realization. The person who stepped back is no longer standing in the same place mentally as before. They have learned things. They have understood things. They have noticed things. And those discoveries are changing how they see everything connected to you. The most surprising part? This process is not finished yet. There are still thoughts forming. Still realizations unfolding. Still truths becoming clear. The story is moving towards something important. Something meaningful. Something that explains why all of this happened in the first place. And in the next part, you will discover the unexpected moment that caused everything to shift even further, a moment so subtle that almost nobody would have recognized its importance at the time, yet powerful enough to change the direction of this entire story. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. An unexpected moment changed everything. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There comes a point in every story when a single moment changes the direction of everything that follows. Most people never recognize that moment while it is happening. It seems ordinary. It appears insignificant. It looks like just another day. But later, when they look back, they realize that was the moment everything shifted. This story has such a moment. And the person who stepped back never expected it to affect them the way it did. For a long time, they believed they understood you. They thought they had already figured out who you were. They thought there was nothing left to discover. But then something happened. Not something loud. Not something dramatic. Something quiet. Something simple. Something real. And somehow, that simple moment revealed more than 100 conversations ever could. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Maybe it was the way you handled a challenge. Maybe it was your patience during a difficult season. Maybe it was your ability to remain kind when others expected something different. Maybe it was the way you continued forward without seeking recognition. Whatever it was, it caught their attention. For the first time, they saw a side of you they had never truly seen before. And that is when everything began changing. Because once a person sees something genuine, it becomes difficult to return to old assumptions. Old opinions begin to fade. Old ideas begin to weaken. Old conclusions begin to fall apart. The image they once carried of you started transforming. Piece by piece. Thought by thought. Day by day. And the more they reflected on it, the more they realized something surprising. They had underestimated your impact. Not because they intended to. Not because they wanted to. But because some things cannot be fully understood until the right moment arrives. That moment arrived. And it left them thinking. Deeply thinking. The kind of thinking that follows a meaningful realization. The kind of thinking that changes perspective forever. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The fascinating part is what happened next. Instead of rushing toward answers, they became more reflective. Instead of acting immediately, they became more observant. Instead of speaking first, they started listening more carefully. Why? Because they wanted certainty. They wanted understanding. They wanted clarity. And clarity takes time. Every day they noticed something new. A quality they had overlooked. A strength they had underestimated. A detail they had forgotten. The picture kept expanding. And every new discovery pointed toward the same conclusion. You were not who they originally thought you were. You were more. More thoughtful. More resilient. More valuable. More impactful. More memorable. And that realization was impossible to ignore. That is why the distance happened. Not because the connection disappeared. Because the understanding grew. There is a difference. A very important difference. Many people mistake reflection for withdrawal. Many people mistake thoughtfulness for absence. Many people mistake processing for losing interest. But those assumptions often miss the truth. The truth is that meaningful realizations require space. And space is exactly what they created. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there is another layer to this story. As they continued reflecting, they started noticing something unexpected. Your influence remained present even when you were not. Your words remained memorable. Your actions remained meaningful. Your presence remained significant. Think about that. When someone steps away and still cannot stop recognizing the impact of a person, something important is happening. Something real. Something lasting. Something worth paying attention to. That realization did not arrive in a single day. It arrived through repetition. A memory here. A thought there. A reminder somewhere else. Over and over again. Until eventually they could no longer dismiss it. The truth stood directly in front of them. Clearer than ever before. And once they saw it, everything looked different. The past looked different. The present looked different. The possibilities ahead looked different. That is why this story is moving towards something significant. Because the distance was never the final chapter. It was preparation. Preparation for understanding. Preparation for clarity. Preparation for a realization that could not have happened any other way. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Right now, the pieces are coming together. The questions are finding answers. The confusion is giving way to clarity. The silence is revealing its purpose. And in the next part, you will discover the realization that surprised this person the most. The realization they resisted at first, questioned repeatedly, and eventually could no longer deny. When that realization finally became clear, it changed the entire meaning of the distance they had created. And that is where this story becomes more powerful than ever before. A realization they could no longer ignore. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There are moments in life when a truth becomes so clear that avoiding it is no longer possible. No matter how many times someone tries to explain it away, distract themselves from it, or convince themselves otherwise, the truth remains. That is where this story has arrived. The person who stepped back has reached a point where certain things are becoming impossible to deny. At first, they thought the distance would give them simple answers. Instead, it gave them unexpected discoveries. The more space they created, the more obvious certain things became. The more they reflected, the more connections they noticed. The more they paid attention, the more they realized that something significant had been growing without them fully understanding it. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. One day, during a completely ordinary moment, a thought appeared. Not a dramatic thought. Not a complicated thought. A simple one. But sometimes the simplest thoughts carry the greatest power. The thought was this: why does this person continue to matter so much? That question stayed with them. It followed them through their day. It returned when they least expected it. And every time it returned, it became harder to ignore. Because the answer was becoming clearer. The reason you remained on their mind was not coincidence. The reason your presence continued to stand out was not coincidence. The reason your impact continued growing was not coincidence. There was something deeper happening. Something they had not fully understood before. Something they were only now beginning to recognize. And recognition changes everything. When people finally recognize value, they start seeing things differently. They remember details differently. They revisit moments differently. They understand conversations differently. What once looked ordinary suddenly looks meaningful. What once seemed small suddenly feels important. That shift has been taking place. Quietly. Powerfully. Consistently. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. As they looked back, they started connecting memories that previously felt unrelated. A conversation they once forgot suddenly became memorable. A moment they barely noticed suddenly carried meaning. A quality they overlooked suddenly stood out. The picture was becoming impossible to ignore. And then came another realization. One that surprised them even more. The distance had not weakened the connection in their mind. It had strengthened their understanding of it. Think about that carefully. The very thing they thought would create clarity through separation ended up revealing significance through reflection. That was unexpected. That was surprising. That was powerful. Because now they were seeing things from a perspective they never had before. A wider perspective. A deeper perspective. A more honest perspective. And from that perspective, certain truths became impossible to deny. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The story is no longer about distance. The story is no longer about silence. The story is no longer about uncertainty. The story is becoming about realization. The realization that some people leave a stronger impression than expected. The realization that some connections carry more meaning than first believed. The realization that certain people become unforgettable for reasons that take time to understand. That understanding is growing. And every day it becomes stronger. That is why the step back happened. Not to erase understanding. To create it. Not to lose perspective. To gain it. Not to forget significance. To discover it. There is something remarkable about what happens when truth becomes clear. The mind stops searching for excuses. The heart stops questioning every detail. The confusion begins to fade. And clarity starts taking its place. That clarity is arriving. Piece by piece. Thought by thought. Moment by moment. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because there is still one final piece missing. One final understanding. One final revelation. The realization that explains not only why they stepped back, but why everything feels different now. And when that final piece falls into place, the entire story will make sense in a way it never has before. You have come too far to leave now. Stay with this story. Stay till the end, something huge is waiting for you. Because in the next part, the final truth behind this unexpected distance will be revealed, and it may completely change the way you see everything that has happened from the very beginning. The final piece of the puzzle is here. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. You have followed this story through every question, every pause, every hidden realization, and now you have arrived at the moment where everything comes together. The truth is far different from what most people would assume. When someone steps back, people usually expect the story to become smaller. But in this case, the story became bigger. Much bigger. The distance was never the main event. The realization was. That is the secret hidden inside everything you have heard. The person who stepped back was not moving away from understanding. They were moving toward it. Not moving away from clarity. Moving toward it. Not moving away from significance. Moving toward it. And that changes everything. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Think about everything that happened. The observations. The reflection. The unexpected thoughts. The memories that kept returning. The details that suddenly seemed important. None of those things happened by accident. Each one was a piece of a much larger picture. Picture that took time to reveal itself. At first, they noticed your qualities. Then they noticed your impact. Then they noticed your consistency. Then they noticed how often their thoughts returned to you. And eventually they reached a realization they could no longer ignore. You had become far more meaningful to them than they ever expected. Not because of one dramatic moment. Not because of one conversation. Not because of one event. But because of the accumulation of countless small moments that quietly built something significant. That is what surprised them most. The realization was not sudden. It was earned. Built piece by piece. Day by day. Thought by thought. And once they saw it, they could never unsee it. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. This is why the distance felt confusing. Because what was happening internally was completely different from what was visible externally. On the outside, there was space. On the inside, there was understanding. On the outside, there was silence. On the inside, there was reflection. On the outside, there was a pause. On the inside, there was discovery. And discovery changes people. It changes how they think. It changes how they remember. It changes how they view the future. That is exactly what has happened here. The person who stepped back is no longer seeing things through the same lens. They are no longer relying on old assumptions. They are no longer looking at the situation the way they once did. The perspective has changed. The understanding has changed. The awareness has changed. And once awareness changes, everything else begins to change too. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is another truth hidden inside this story. Sometimes people need distance not because they are uncertain about someone else, but because they are trying to understand themselves. They are trying to understand why certain thoughts keep returning. Why certain memories remain important. Why certain people continue standing out. Why certain connections refuse to fade. Those questions lead to powerful answers. Answers that cannot be forced. Answers that cannot be rushed. Answers that arrive only when the time is right. That time has been approaching. With every passing day, the picture has become clearer. With every passing thought, the understanding has become stronger. With every passing realization, the truth has become more obvious. And the truth is simple. The step back had a purpose. A purpose greater than appearances suggested. A purpose greater than assumptions could explain. A purpose greater than first impressions revealed. The purpose was understanding. And understanding has arrived. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. As this chapter closes, remember something important. Not every silence means absence. Not every pause means loss. Not every step back means the story is ending. Sometimes a step back is where the deepest realizations begin. Sometimes distance creates perspective. Sometimes perspective creates understanding. And sometimes understanding reveals value that was always there but not fully recognized. That is the journey you have just witnessed. A journey from uncertainty to clarity. A journey from assumptions to realization. A journey from distance to understanding. And perhaps the most surprising revelation of all is this. The thing that seemed most confusing at the beginning turned out to be the very thing that made everything clear. That is why this story matters. That is why every moment mattered. That is why every piece was important. And that is why the final truth was worth waiting for. Stay strong. Keep moving forward. Trust what time reveals. Because some of the most meaningful realizations arrive quietly, long before anyone speaks them aloud. And sometimes, the step back you never understood becomes the reason everything finally makes sense. What happened after the realization was even more surprising. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Most people think the story ends when a realization arrives. But that is rarely true. A realization is not the ending. It is the beginning of a new chapter. And that is exactly where this story continues. The person who stepped back finally understood something they had been trying to figure out for a long time. The questions that once filled their mind were slowly being replaced by answers. The uncertainty that once seemed impossible to solve was becoming easier to understand. Yet something unexpected happened. The more clarity they gained, the more they began to recognize how much had changed within them. Not around them. Within them. That is an important difference. Because external circumstances can change quickly, but internal understanding changes everything. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. As they looked back over the journey, they noticed something remarkable. The distance that once seemed necessary no longer felt the same. The silence that once felt useful no longer carried the same purpose. The questions that once seemed endless no longer felt impossible to answer. Why? Because growth had taken place. Perspective had expanded. Awareness had deepened. And once awareness reaches a certain level, it becomes impossible to see things the way you saw them before. The old perspective disappears. A new one takes its place. That is exactly what happened. For the first time, they could see the entire story rather than isolated moments. For the first time, they could see the value hidden inside details they once overlooked. For the first time, they could see why certain memories remained so powerful. And that realization created another surprising discovery. You had influenced their journey more than they realized. Not through grand gestures. Not through dramatic events. But through consistency. Through authenticity. Through the quiet impact that meaningful people leave behind. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The fascinating thing about genuine realization is that it often arrives in layers. First comes awareness. Then understanding. Then appreciation. And finally, perspective. Perspective is where everything changes. Because perspective allows people to see value clearly. It allows them to recognize significance. It allows them to connect pieces that once seemed unrelated. That is the stage this person reached. And what they discovered surprised even them. They discovered that some of the moments they thought were small were actually important. Some of the memories they thought were ordinary were actually meaningful. Some of the details they thought they forgot had quietly remained with them the entire time. That realization was impossible to ignore. And every day it became stronger. Not weaker. Stronger. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is another truth hidden here. Sometimes people spend so much time looking for something extraordinary that they overlook what is genuinely meaningful. Then one day they stop searching. They stop forcing answers. They stop chasing explanations. And suddenly they see what was there all along. That is what happened. The answer was never hidden. The answer simply needed time to be recognized. And once it was recognized, everything started making sense. The distance. The reflection. The silence. The questions. Every part of the story had served a purpose. Every chapter had contributed something important. Every moment had led toward understanding. And now understanding was standing directly in front of them. Clearer than ever. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. As this chapter unfolds, there is one final thought worth remembering. Life often works in unexpected ways. Sometimes what appears to be a setback becomes preparation. Sometimes what appears to be confusion becomes clarity. Sometimes what appears to be distance becomes understanding. And sometimes the people who matter most are recognized fully only after a period of reflection. That is why this story matters. Because it reminds us that not every pause is negative. Not every delay is meaningless. Not every step back is moving away. Sometimes it is simply part of a larger journey toward understanding. And perhaps that is the greatest revelation of all. The reason behind the distance was never what it appeared to be. It was part of a process. A process of seeing clearly. A process of recognizing value. A process of understanding something that could only be understood with time. The story may have started with a step back. But it became a story about realization. A story about perspective. A story about seeing what was always there. And that is why, even now, the journey continues to reveal new meaning with every passing day. Stay till the end. Do not skip. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the next chapter is not about distance anymore. It is about what becomes possible once true understanding has finally arrived. A door is opening that nobody expected. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. If you have followed this journey from the beginning, then you already know that this story was never really about distance. It was about discovery. It was about perspective. It was about a realization that quietly grew stronger with every passing moment. But now the story reaches a new stage. A stage that changes everything. Because once a person truly understands something, they cannot return to not understanding it. Once they see clearly, they cannot pretend they did not see. Once they recognize value, they cannot completely forget it. That is where things stand now. The person who stepped back has crossed a line they never expected to cross. The line between wondering and knowing. The line between assumption and understanding. The line between uncertainty and clarity. And that changes the future in ways they never imagined. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Think about how remarkable this is. At the beginning of the story, the distance seemed like the most important detail. Now it feels like the least important detail. Because the real story was happening beneath the surface all along. The real story was the growth of understanding. The real story was the transformation of perspective. The real story was the recognition of something meaningful. And now that recognition is impossible to ignore. Every reflection brought new awareness. Every memory brought new understanding. Every observation brought new clarity. The pieces continued connecting until a complete picture finally emerged. And when it emerged, it surprised them. Not because the truth was shocking, but because the truth had been there all along. Waiting to be seen. Waiting to be understood. Waiting for the right moment. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is a lesson hidden inside this story. People often believe important realizations arrive with noise. They expect dramatic announcements. They expect sudden changes. They expect unforgettable events. But many of the most powerful realizations arrive quietly. They arrive through reflection. They arrive through observation. They arrive through time. And when they finally arrive, they change everything. That is exactly what happened here. The person who stepped back gained something valuable. Perspective. And perspective revealed something they could not see before. It revealed the significance of what had been standing in front of them all along. It revealed the meaning hidden inside ordinary moments. It revealed the importance of things they once overlooked. That realization became a turning point. Not because it changed the past. Because it changed how they understood the past. And understanding changes everything. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The fascinating part is that once a person reaches this stage, they begin seeing opportunities where they once saw confusion. They begin seeing meaning where they once saw uncertainty. They begin seeing possibilities where they once saw questions. That shift is powerful. It transforms how they think. It transforms how they remember. It transforms how they move forward. And that transformation has already begun. The old perspective is fading. The new perspective is growing stronger. The old assumptions are disappearing. The new understanding is becoming clearer. Every day adds another layer. Every moment adds another insight. Every reflection adds another piece to the picture. And the picture is becoming impossible to ignore. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Perhaps the most surprising revelation is this. The distance that once seemed like an obstacle became the very thing that created understanding. The pause that once seemed confusing became the source of clarity. The silence that once seemed empty became full of realization. That is why this story matters. Because it reminds us that appearances rarely tell the whole story. The surface rarely reveals everything. The first impression is rarely the final truth. Sometimes the most important developments happen where nobody can see them. Sometimes the biggest changes happen quietly. Sometimes understanding grows long before anyone speaks about it. That is what has happened here. And now a new chapter is beginning. A chapter shaped by awareness. A chapter shaped by clarity. A chapter shaped by the realization that some things become more meaningful the more they are understood. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the story has now reached the point where understanding is no longer growing in secret. The lessons have been learned. The perspective has been gained. The truth has become visible. And what comes next is the natural result of everything that has happened so far. The journey began with distance. It continued with reflection. It grew through realization. It strengthened through understanding. And now it stands at the threshold of something entirely new. Something that could never have happened without every chapter that came before it. Something that was quietly being prepared from the very beginning. Something huge is waiting for you. The moment everything finally makes sense. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. You have traveled through every chapter of this story. You have seen the distance, the silence, the reflection, the realization, and the understanding. Now you stand at the final turning point, the place where every piece connects and every question finds its answer. And the answer is more powerful than anyone expected. Because the story was never about someone moving away. It was about someone waking up to a truth they could no longer ignore. That truth did not arrive suddenly. It arrived through time. Through observation. Through reflection. Through countless moments that seemed ordinary but carried extraordinary meaning. That is why this final chapter matters. Because now the hidden picture can finally be seen in full. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Think back to the very beginning. A person took a step back. At first, it seemed confusing. At first, it seemed unexpected. At first, it seemed difficult to understand. But now you know something important. The step back was not the story. The discovery was the story. Every day that passed brought new awareness. Every memory carried new meaning. Every reflection revealed another piece of the truth. Until eventually the truth became impossible to ignore. Some people enter our lives quietly. Some people leave impressions without realizing it. Some people create impact simply by being who they are. And often that impact is understood only after time creates perspective. Perspective changes everything. It changes what we notice. It changes what we remember. It changes what we value. And that is exactly what happened. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The most surprising part of all is that the answers were never hidden. They were simply waiting to be recognized. The significance was always there. The meaning was always there. The value was always there. But recognition takes time. Understanding takes time. Awareness takes time. And once awareness arrives, everything looks different. The person who stepped back now sees things differently. The memories look different. The journey looks different. the connection looks different. Because understanding has transformed their perspective. That transformation is the real revelation. Not a dramatic event. Not a sudden announcement. But a change in how someone truly sees and understands. That kind of change lasts. That kind of realization stays. That kind of understanding becomes part of the story forever. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is a lesson hidden inside every part of this journey. Never assume that silence tells the whole story. Never assume that distance reveals the whole truth. Never assume that what you see on the surface is everything that exists. Some of the most important developments happen where nobody can see them. Some of the most meaningful realizations happen quietly. Some of the greatest changes begin long before anyone speaks about them. That is why this story feels so powerful. Because it reflects something many people experience but few fully understand. The journey from assumption to clarity. The journey from confusion to understanding. The journey from distance to perspective. And perspective changes everything. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. As this story reaches its conclusion, one final truth remains. Sometimes life allows people to step back so they can finally see clearly. Sometimes reflection reveals what constant motion cannot. Sometimes time uncovers what rushed moments miss. And sometimes a person realizes that what they were searching for was already standing in front of them all along. That realization is rare. That realization is powerful. That realization changes everything. The title of this story was always true. Someone you may not expect has been taking a step back, for a reason. But now you know the reason. The reason was understanding. The reason was perspective. The reason was realization. And the reason was discovering the true significance of something they had not fully recognized before. That is the hidden truth behind the distance. That is the answer behind the silence. That is the meaning behind every chapter. And now, as the story closes, remember this. Not every step back is a loss. Not every pause is an ending. Not every silence is empty. Sometimes those moments are preparing the way for understanding that could never arrive any other way. Stay strong. Keep moving forward. Trust what time reveals. Because some of the most extraordinary realizations begin in the quiet moments that nobody else notices. And sometimes, those quiet moments change everything. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. And perhaps the biggest revelation of all is that the story was never ending. It was becoming clearer.